welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. This is Nasty Neal.
This is Annabelle Lecter.
We're joined by F. Javier Gutierrez, writer and director of The Wait, coming October 4th, which is my mom's birthday. I don't know if it's a fitting movie for a mother's birthday, but
it's not.
No.
So, his mom is very strange, so
that's true.
Probably.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the mom.
Moms everywhere will be like,
I
love The Wait. Oh my Lord, this movie was awesome. I'm so glad we had the opportunity to see it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good.
Absolutely. It's a slow burn, but it's beautiful the whole time. So the story is good. And then when it has these punches, they're extra powerful. And the ending,
thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
For people who aren't aware yet, could you give them an idea of what The Wait is about?
Well, it's The Wait is like as Annabelle said, it's a slow burn thriller, like with the soul of a Western that takes place in Spain in the 70s, and it's the story of this this man who takes care of this hunting land. And at some point, he receives he gets a bribe from a veteran hunter. He's hesitating, but at the end he decides to take it, and that's gonna bring consequences. He's gonna start like a dark descent to hell, let's say.
I'd read that this was very personal to you, the movie. So is the story itself personal, or like just where you filmed it, or?
No, I mean it's like it's different things. It's a story that takes place in the area of the countryside of Spain. When I was a kid, I grew up in that area, very close to that area because of my grandparents. I used to go to the villages. I used to be scared of the things that I used to see there, right? Like a kid, especially particularly the hunting world, which is kind of brutal, right? So part of this is those memories. There is things that actually impact me in my childhood. And I somehow wanted to set this story there because of the isolation of the character too, and because having living for short periods of time in the mountain when I was a kid there, and I felt that, and this you feel more vulnerable somehow too. So I thought it was like a very interesting setup to have this journey for the character and somehow organically end there. Plus, there is like personal references to my father and things like that. Like part of the outfit of the main character used to be from my father. Yeah, I somehow injected personal things there. Yeah.
What's that process like then to write something so personal to you?
The process, you mean?
Yeah, like so if you're writing something and you have stuff, there's references to your father, like just writing that, yeah. What's that like?
It's like, I mean, I don't take the writing when I do something for me. Like this movie was more like a personal. It's not like a studio or work for hire thing. I don't really rationalize a lot. I just sit down in front of the computer and start to write. I remember I wrote this one at the end of 2019, during holidays with my father. He was still alive, and was like, and I just started to write it, like as a reaction to try to do something with total freedom and express like a lot of things that they were, running through my soul and my head at the time, after coming from a bigger studio that I was working, like more like colder everything and more like rational everything, with notes, dealing with those things. So I wanted to do something very raw. So I actually wrote it, and I didn't do like a lot of passes or fixes after, because I thought my theory is that when you write something that is comes from inside, maybe not perfect, when you have it, but there is some authenticity about it. So unless there is like something that is a big problem for shooting, for production, you know, I try not to change it. So it's uh, answering to your question. If it's something personal,
Yeah.
I just don't really overthink it. I just like put it out there, and somehow, all the complexity of your inner questions and your inner thoughts are gonna be there.
How is that working, trying to get it out there? Because there'll be so many people that they want to bring art, they want to bring that personal part, and it'll, no, you can't do this because it won't make money, it won't sell you, all these different things. So how did that work out for the Wait?
Yeah, well, it's like Money West is not like a great business, because it was never meant to be like that. In this movie, I actually I didn't get paid. I put everything like I entered as producer. I wanted to just make the movie, and it was really complicated because, as you said, like talking to streamers and studios in Spain, because this was gonna be set up in Spain. They wanted to do something more like my previous movie. It's like, well, don't you have anything like that? It's like, no, because it's not about that. It's like about, like, I need to do this. So when you try to do something more authentic, let's say, for yourself at least, it's a hard it's a hard way to. I mean, you have to find the resources. You have to keep fighting. You keep saying no, no. I mean, everybody pretty much say no to this project in Spain, despite all the movies I had and blah blah blah. They say, well, if you bring something that is more commercial or more like a straightforward horror, for example, because this movie is I mean, it has a lot of horror elements because I love the genre, and I was born watching all those movies. And my first movie was like again like a mix. Before the Fall was a mix of horror, sci-fi, and drama. The second one is like different, right? But I like to blend those things, and it's not a straightforward horror thing that you're gonna see. Like, okay, I'm gonna watch like Texas Massacre, or I'm gonna see Friday Night. I love those movies, but this was not exactly that. But I think it's a movie that if you love horror and you grew up watching fantasy movies in all the spectrum of the fantasy, you appreciate that, because it's not like just like it's not a drama. Just
so
for the
along those lines, how important are the festivals? Because festivals are more likely to take a movie that doesn't fit into one genre or multiple genres, and then you also get a buzz, I assume, from that. So, like, how important is getting your film into the
I
festivals?
think it's actually very important, festivals, in this particular kind of movies, because these movies that are a little bit out of the box, that you cannot put in, filing a particular like cabinet, they're hard for some people to understand. So, and it's particularly for the people who buys the movies, they don't know how to promote it or market a lot of times. So festivals, they help to show the movie and to directly contact with the audience, how so they can appreciate it. And then because of that, actually distributors that eventually we need them, right, to show the movie, they realize that, okay, this movie is not like maybe the typical straightforward horror or the typical straightforward whatever, but it works because audiences respond to it. So it definitely helps. I mean, this movie, after we shoot it, we had like we went through a lot of festivals, starting in the US in Fantastic Fest, and going through some of the smaller ones, but they are still very cool because I just love them, like the Scream Fest, Film Quest, Panic Fest. And at the same time, in Europe and other parts of the world, we were in other festival, more like, let's say, more like a drama festival, right? Like Shanghai, or like I don't know, like festivals like that. And so it helps definitely the movie to find its audience. And I would say for filmmakers that they have to fight against all these like complex, the distribution. And like, if you do a good job, that eventually is like it's authentic and it's an honest movie, eventually finds its audience. So you just have to show it.
And I think that's so, just hearing that, it makes so much sense that people, you put something out there that resonates with you. It's a story that you're making from your own human experiences. There are other people that will resonate with. There are going to be things that you put out there that other people have had similar experiences. And it's just, as a human being, having that kind of real relation, I think makes such a difference. It's not just entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the Wade's very dark, very tragic. Does that play differently with different audiences from different countries?
Yes, it is. I mean, in Spain, obviously, there is like a social context that people understand very well, because we were like, in those ages in the 70s, we were coming out from the dictatorship and everything. And everything was very, very strict and very somehow dark still, you know. And you could feel that, I think. And there were like all these still social differences and all these like, and a lot of conflict like with religion and all the thing that it's in the movie somehow. The movie has different layers. There's like one that is like the most like the thriller, let's say the horror. But if you keep digging inside, you can see like there is like a human level very important, and there is even like a kind of a biblical thing because it's the roots of the Spanish culture. We grow up, all of us, we grew up in the Catholicism with the, going through that. So the movie doesn't try to judge anything of that, but it has influence of all that. So it plays different. It's very interesting. For example, in Texas, when we were in Austin, everybody saw the vibe of the Western, because we shoot it like in the area of the spaghetti Westerns, like where Sergio Leone, that I love, used to shoot the movies, like in the area of Almeria, Seville, Andalusia, where I am from. And they connect with that part. But the interesting thing is that the same thing that happened with Before the Fall, a part of all the local things and all the the social things from Spain or from different countries, they connect with like the human part of the story. In this kind, I mean, this journey is a dark one. It's not like a nice trip. But I think, like I said, sometimes it's not my thing, but it's a line from somebody that sometimes to see the beauty, you have to go to the dark corners, like a candle. You can see the light when it's in a dark room, right? So that's the thing.
It's so tragic, and the family you feel so bad for, all of them. You can see the wife and the main character, both of them I feel bad for. And I think there's so many places where you can see there's a reason why people are doing what they're doing. It's not because necessarily someone around is straight evil. If people are doing things, they're motivated to do things, which happens in life.
Yeah, it's very I want it to be very realistic, like too much sometimes, because it's like a movie that it has no mercy with our characters. It's very brutal in that regard. That's why it's like some people was affected like too much maybe, but because I had some screenings in Europe actually that people walk out to me like seriously affected. But it's because actually I think the movie talks about, like what we were saying, like a human things that some people in a particular moment may be running into something like that. So they expect to see just a horror movie, and they go there like, like having popcorn, and then they walk out saying, oh, wow, this is like a heavy charge that I just, I didn't see coming, right? So, yeah.
When you were talking about dark and light there, and even in the movie itself, a lot of the tragedy is like in the light. It's in the bright light with the sun. It's outside. Is that difficult at all then to also like capture like a tragic vibe to the movie? Because I think when you think of something dark, horror, it's shadowy. You're in the darkness. You're at nighttime, but you have a lot. You're out in the sun, where you can actually see everything.
Yeah, because I think, the dark thing, it works for like horror movies, right?
Hmm.
Uh, but I think that horror and that feeling of fear comes from really like anywhere. Like our character, Eladio, is totally isolated in a landscape that is like a desert. Um, he keeps seeing things and he's going to experience things that actually affect him deeper in a deeper level. So as long as you keep connection with the audience and the main character, I think no matter where you are, like if there's too much light or I think it's fine. It's everything is in the core
In
of.
a weird, I think it added to it because it's almost like he can't escape you. The tragedy is there in front of him. You can't escape from it. It's not hidden in the shadows. It's there. He can't hide from.
Yeah, you can. It's he's alone right there, and has his moments of darkness, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
He has his nights, but it's interesting that the same way that his nights. There's a couple of, I don't want to do spoilers, which is really complicated with this movie, but he has like moments that he has like he sees himself like maybe like a different creature or something like that.
Yeah, which is a great scene, by the way. Yeah.
It's like for us fantasy lovers, there is like a lot of but there is like those moments are actually justified in his mind because it's like he sees himself like guilty. The movie is about guilt and about like he. I cannot say that talk about that sequence without making a big spoiler.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know what I mean.
thinking of symbols like that
Yeah,
in
yeah.
another biblical
Yeah, there is a
thing.
lot of biblical
Yeah.
symbols to the whole. Like the pipe thing that comes from the pipe. Those are elements from the. There is actually like a note at the opening of the movie about the Genesis that has,
Yeah.
and so knowing that, you know that you are kind of going to see like a movie that talks about guilt, about sin, about it's a study about the human soul, a little bit like brutal about how we handle our own fragility. So it's it's maybe a little bit too deep now for the podcast. Yeah.
Lots of references to food and the idea that scarcity with food.
Yeah, well, that's a cultural thing. In Spain, there is like a lot. It's a culture of a lot of food. When I was a kid, we have like fried eggs. There is a moment in the movie that they are frying eggs, and I remember it was fun because it was a moment that we didn't shoot the fried eggs, and I wanted to shoot the fried eggs, and everybody kept telling me, "Why do you want to shoot the fried eggs?" It's like it's important. I keep saying it's important. It's really important. So it's gives you a part of the fact that obviously it talks about the tension between the couple, like those moments that the egg breaks and everything. It's There are elements that somehow I'm very obsessive with the close-ups, as you can tell in the movie, with like like creatures, animals, like insects, details from the landscape or like objects. And I'm very picky with those. I actually pick those objects myself. I go to buy them. I go I drive crazy the art department for So it's so those elements like the food, for example, it's very connected to our culture, like the fried eggs, what I was saying, and the thing that he buys during that night that has like that moment of transformation or those elements are very Spanish, are very like in our culture. It's very interesting actually because the thing that he's eating that during that sequence when he's vegetarian, I say no, you have to you have to buy this, and it's not vegetarian food. So Victor, who plays Eladio, who is amazing in the movie, he's suffering that sequence, but it helped the character because when he's not swallowing, actually he keeps doing. I keep saying, don't cut, just keep doing it.
Yeah.
So I put him through like really he's an amazing actor.
Yeah, he's great in it. And I assume that's a hard role to cast since it's the majority of the film is that character.
Yeah, well, the thing is that he was the lead actor in Before the Fall. That's the movie that brought me to America in the first place, because before the story of Before the Fall is great. It was a movie that nobody believed on in Spain because it was an end of the world movie with a serial killer set in the 70s. So you can watch it I think it's in Apple TV now.
Check it out, yeah.
It was a movie that nobody wanted absolutely make it in Spain or actor. I cast this actor that he was like young, coming from TV, and was like very crazy. And from that moment on, I mean, the movie blew up. You know, we got another actor that was like it's like one of the biggest actors in Spain is Eduard Fernandez, that maybe you know in 30 Coins and all those movies are like he's the lead. So he said, okay, I love this movie, I want to do it, it's crazy, but I'm gonna do it. So from that moment on, that movie grew up. And the thing I was saying is like that movie was played here in Los Angeles when I was still living in Spain, in the AFI. It's a festival there, and somebody saw it and called me, and was Wes Craven.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So Wes Craven wanted to remake Before the Fall. I was gonna work for him rebooting like The People Under the Stairs. So Wes is the one who brought me to the US. Actually, he helped me out.
Oh, that's amazing.
And everything. Yeah. So it's like I love him. It's you know, it's like obviously.
Yeah, that. I love that story because obviously you said you're a horror fan, so I assume you grew up watching Wes Craven stuff, and I think that's also great that Wes Craven, a veteran director, like he sees a new director and wants to help him out. I think that's great.
He was amazing. He was like, I mean, it was amazing as obviously as the director. When I met him, I was like trembling. I was like, oh, wow, Wes Craven. But then as a person, he was the sweetest and the nicest, and he just saw the movie. And I remember he came to the screening we had in LA to support it, and it was so moving, and so I mean, for me it was like I'll never forget. Yeah, he was really like about helping filmmakers, and when he saw like something special, he was like, he trusts you, he was not the kind of, I mean, we couldn't make the movie eventually, but the time I was spending working with him and talking with him is not that he was not a producer that tries to put you in a box. So he was like, just do your movie, we'll deal with the rating after and with everything after. You just do your thing, So that's like a gift for a first-time filmmaker that I was at the time.
Yeah.
It was like a dream.
Amazing, because I'm sure he doesn't do that to everybody every day. I'm sure he sees many, many movies, and it was you.
I was like, yeah. I mean, I still keep the letter there, like for you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. Do you have a favorite Wes Craven film?
Oh, I love a lot of them. I mean, obviously, Nightmare on the Street. It was one that I remember when I watched it with my sisters in Spain. I was freaking out. I mean, all of them. I think he's amazing. I think he was like the master, and he made. I mean, People Under the Stairs is a crazy movie. It's so risky and so out of the box and so wild. And the balance of that kind of dark comedy moment with it's so hard to pull that out. It's amazing. So, I mean, everything I think is great. But yeah, Elm Street is the one that I remember freaking out with my sisters.
Yeah. So I'm a big Hills Have Eyes fan as I've gotten older. I think it's probably my favorite.
Pretty bad.
Yeah. Very, very dark. Like
you would like something so dark.
Yeah, and a lot of out in the light, so you can see what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah, there's some connections here.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to ask, but we stepped away. So you focus on things like the eggs, which is beautiful. And I'm glad that you are able to stand your ground with all these things. After the film is over, do they go, oh, now I understand why this was so important?
Totally. Yes, totally. Actually, because I got the thing of the X in a lot of Q&As. People ask and they love it. And
Yes.
then I talk to the other producers and I say, you see, it's like
Mhm.
I was not crazy. And the funny thing about the X is that we couldn't shoot it that day in the kitchen. So I had to shoot it on the countryside. So we shoot it in the countryside, the close up of the X. We took a pan and we put like a fire in the middle of another sequence. I said, he's crazy. He wants and I was the one frying the X, by the way.
Yeah.
Nice.
You did a good job. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Just a cameo.
So,
like,
Yeah.
we talked about writing something so personal. How about watching something? So it's like, not only just personal to you, obviously you wrote it, you direct it. When you're watching with an audience, what's that experience like?
it's very exciting. Obviously, it's like I mean, you're not objective. It's your movie. It's not even like a work for hire. It's like your real thing. So it's great when some people actually connect with the movie, and they walk after the screening and they tell you like I totally felt like the movie, and they keep the. I mean, obviously, there is people that enjoy the suspense because it's like a suspense thriller and all that, right? Which is great. I love when they come because I mean I like entertainment. It's fun. But in this particular kind of movies, like before the whole fall has things like that too. I appreciate it a lot when people actually connect with the thing in the movie that is not that obvious, that is more personal, because that people actually I think enjoy the full movie. Not only the action or the horror or but on a human level, and they keep that movie. They somehow sticks to you because talks to you in a more personal level. So yes.
Well, you mentioned, October 4th is coming out. Will there be a physical release?
I hope so. Yes, I hope so. I heard that Film Independent used to do that, so I think so. And I have to ask now that you tell me that. I hope so. I want to have my Blu-ray or
Yeah, of
DVD.
course.
Yeah, I think it would be nice. And it's very sad when I go to the stores and I see that they are removing all that. I used to buy all of them because I was so happy because they were like, they were like cheaper now.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, this is great. I'm getting all the best collector's editions. Yeah, they were cheaper because nobody was buying.
Yeah. It's a catch-22 there, right? Yeah.
Only me and you and something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
I hate to say this, but like I've gotten really cool box sets like at the dollar store, and it's kind of the same idea. It's like, oh wow, this is $1.25, and then it's like, oh well, there's probably a reason for that, which
yeah,
does make you
that's
depressed then.
really
Yeah,
sad. It's very
yeah,
depressing.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm all for it and keeping the physical because
Well, I
it's
do think like especially horror movies, the audience likes the physical copies for just because it's cool to have on your bookshelf, and they also like to have all the different special features that are on them.
yes, yeah, that's very nice. We couldn't make actually a lot of special features because we had no making of or things like that in this movie. It was very
Yeah, there's always commentary track. Yeah,
yeah, that thing, yeah, that I love that. But yeah, it's the beauty of that. It's like you have it and then you can, and it's somehow it's not like the streaming thing. I mean, I don't want to attack bad about the streamings because they're gonna be annoyed, but but it's I think there is something about the beauty of watching it in a big screen or
oh yeah.
having your copy. Those movies you remember the whole life, your whole life. Nowadays there's so many movies. Oh my god, so many movies that they come straight to streaming, and some of them are great.
Yeah.
You just forget because there is not like an impact in your life in the same way. You don't have to go buy a ticket, sit down. You don't have to go to the store to find it. I still remember when I was in the video store trying to see what movie I'm gonna rent tonight.
Yeah,
Exciting. Was as exciting as watching the movie.
yeah.
I remember my conversations with everybody around. Like, have you seen this? This is good. Is this bad? All that is getting lost. So now you see a movie like you go sit down while you are cooking or while you are like talking with, and like
Yeah,
what,
you're on social
what
media or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, you're like, and you played, and it's like, it's kind of like, I'm a little bit of a romantic with that, and
Yeah.
but
No, at
it's
the theater, not only is it on the big screen and the audio, which I think some people overlook because you can feel the audio. You also like you can't escape it. It's there in front of you. I mean,
it is there, and it's and you go with the experience. And this movie particularly, I think, I mean, we're talking about the release obviously on VOD,
yeah.
but in theater that we have still like some screenings. I think we have one in Alamo Draft House
Mm.
coming out.
Oh, nice. That's a
So
great
That's
theater to watch
Alamo
movies.
Draft
Yeah.
House
Yeah.
near us.
in the
So
one in the one in LA, we have it now. It wasn't in the Fantastic Fest, obviously. It was in the one in Austin.
Yeah, it's always great festivals that have because you can sit there and you can you can eat and drink while you're watching the movies. It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's that cinema. I mean, it has like they take care of the screenings, and they're like, So I think it's very important. Yeah, and it's more of an immersion. I mean, I have to say, depending on the kind of movie, some movies that you see on streamers, obviously they are made for streaming
Right.
because they are not. I mean, they're not that cinematic. I would say,
Mhm.
it's like more like a TV-like vibe. It's more like dialogue and fine. It's fine. It's another kind of, But some other movies they like are more like, I think the weight is more immersive. Has a lot of silence through the whole movie and a lot of little subtle sounds that you're gonna subliminally absorb through the experience. So it's much more intense if you see it on the screen. But okay, so we're gonna go to VOD now. So hope everybody has a big
Yeah. Right.
big screen
Yeah.
and
Get as big a TV as you can or computer and watch it. Yeah. And be quiet and turn the lights
yes,
down.
yes.
Yeah. So not to get ahead of ourselves, but are you working on anything currently?
Well, I'm still like with the promotion of
Yeah,
this
of
one.
course. Yeah.
So and I wanna actually take care of the weight as much as I can
Yeah.
because
And it's
something.
great. Like Annabelle said, not just because you're here. I thought it was a great
So
movie. It's very tragic, and like you said, there's silence in it. It's a movie you can get immersed in. I think it is like you said.
Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, I'm starting to see things. Obviously, I'm starting to see like other options, like more like for hire,
Hmm.
because I mean, at some point, this movie got paid by the work for hire
Right.
of the
Right.
previous movie. So it's if I doesn't see the chance to do something more personal, like in the short term, because it's gonna take a while to raise the money. I may take something different and try to make it my movie too, like working in a different environment.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna ask
yeah,
along those lines when you are because you brought up work for hire a few times. If you get us, so you worked on Rings, you directed
yeah,
Rings. When you're part of like an existing franchise, how much can you add to that?
it's complicated. It's very
Yeah.
complicated because it's like there is a lot of people that has invested time in that movie and in that script for a long time. So it's really, I mean, you can have some ideas that they embrace, but it's not uh, something that you take over and you're gonna do. I mean, generally speaking, maybe there is like
Yeah.
different cases, but how I feel it is like working in franchises, you have to do the best version of the franchise of
Yeah.
what they want. Maybe visually, like in my case in Rings, I brought a lot, try to bring like visually, like take care of the framing and the aesthetic and things like that as much as I could. But it's different. It's not like I mean, when you work like doing something more personal and independent, it's more romantic, you know.
Yeah.
It's more romantic. The other thing is, it's fun. It's fun too because obviously you are shooting like a movie that somehow I have to say is refreshing because it's not your mind. It's like you can get too deep. Myself, at least, I can get too deep into myself and dark. And I think it's somehow good, probably, to do something that is not mine for a second to refresh and then go back to my density and do something.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do three in a row like the way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Maybe it could be. I could see it maybe being too draining on you if you're doing
Yeah,
so
yeah,
many personal things in a row.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's nice to jump into somebody else's story at some point and say, okay, let's have fun with this. Let's do something. So I'm now in that process of seeing like if I do something for me, or if I want to give myself like a couple of years or 3 years and do something in the middle that is like more superficial, let's say, that is not that personal. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
But Annabelle and I was talking off air. There's a lot of great horror films coming out from Spanish-speaking directors lately.
Yes. I think we have something in the water.
Yeah, they're all very dark too.
Oh yes. I mean, particularly in Spain, we have like a dark story in the past. So we have stories like my mother tells stories about civil war and things like that they're very brutal. So I think somehow we have that in the DNA. We have seen or we have heard stories from family dark in both sides. Because of civil war is like everybody has friends in that from the past. They were in different. Then you realize that overall thing. I mean, my personal take on those things is like. I'm more humanistic, overall. Not about like I think. I mean, politics are important and everything, but I think about that in a human level. I think, and that's because I heard stories from my grandparents and from my mother and I don't even remember about the politics of the time. I was not there. I just remember about the brutality and the human people helping people independently of where they come from or where those things. I think they are the basics and the key, and try to focus on that and not be manipulated for all the forces that nowadays are pushing in different directions.
Yeah. Do you have a social media for people to follow you?
Oh yes. I don't know if I'm very exciting in social media, but I try to. I have Instagram where I post obviously a lot of things from the movies. Twitter too, and I have a Facebook. I just repost everything. It's FJ. It's a hard one. FJ, and this is my surname Gutierrez, but instead of a G with the number 6.
Okay. All right.
I mean, you have to find it.
We will post it. It'll be a
Yeah.
part of the video. Yes.
Thank you.
People won't have access.
Yeah. It's
They won't have
kind of
to
like
write it out.
it's like the VHS when you were talking earlier. You have to seek it out, so you appreciate it more. Yeah. And then you're let down because it's not very exciting, as you said. No, I'm kidding.
Wow.
Oh, I'm kidding.
No, I put something. I'm not particularly now for the VOD. I'm gonna put like some behind the scenes that I think they're very cool and nobody has seen. Yeah, I'll do that. And I don't want to do it yet because it has big spoilers. But
Yeah. There was things I have in my notes that I didn't want to bring up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's hard to tag.
Yeah.
It's like all the practical
Encourage.
are very cool. I have a lot of footage from the practical effects too. They are like the ending sequence that is there. It's very cool. It's practical.
Oh my goodness.
All the gore and stuff. It looks great.
Yeah, it's very. I wanted to do it like all. I work with I almost worked with actually Rick Baker twice.
Wow.
Yeah, one for The Crow. I was attached to The Crow for 3 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like a long story. But that was a movie that actually I connect with because had a lot of the real story of James O'Barr, who now is, I can call my friend now.
Oh wow.
He's so authentic, and his graphic novel. I didn't see the graphic novel till I got the job, and I say, okay, I have to research it, and then I got the book from James O'Barr. I mean, by James O'Barr. I didn't know James at the time, and I saw it was so powerful, and it was not like even. It's not even an. Again, it's like the way it's a horror, action, or revenge story, but it's so much more. you know. And then when you get to know James, that's another whole podcast. But I reach out to James through Facebook. I phone him in Facebook and I say, I just got this job. I want to talk to you because I read your comic book and I think you should be part of this, or at least I need to know you. And I flew to Dallas to meet him, and amazing everything. Well, so that movie had like a lot of heart. That story, that graphic novel
Yeah.
of heart. So I have no idea what I was talking about the growth. What I was saying something about lost it. We have to rewind to understand.
Oh, about Rick Baker, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I was about to work with him there, and then I was about to work with him afterwards in Rins, but he was retiring at the time because obviously he did Samara Morgan and everything. And I worked with Aryan 210. That is his guy. He's amazing. He's a good friend now. Yeah, so I have this little tribute to Rick in the movie. That
Yes, you do, definitely. Well, that's exactly what I thought of, and so I'm glad that you brought it up, because I was like,
it's in an organic way. It's not like
yeah.
No, just the way it's like, okay, I have to, I'll do like a little bit of a thing for him. So I think he has to see the movie yet. So I'll have to see.
Oh, sweet, yeah. Well, I hope everyone checks it out. The Wait.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I think to the level we have talked about this movie, I cannot imagine there is a person in our audience who would not be interested in this movie. It's fantastic and beautiful. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
This was great to have you on.
Well, absolutely a pleasure. It was amazing. Thank you so much.